My name is Lance Collins, and welcome to Slightly Used News, where a dollar goes a shockingly long way, and we discuss the top news from the Edge Media Network that was fresh a few days ago. Kind of like that face mask you bought last week that you threw in the laundry after your trip to the grocery store turned into Survivor Fish Market Edition, but then, in a rush to leave the house before a 6-foot social hour at the Texas Roadhouse parking lot, mistook it for a thong. Now it smells like just about everyone's genitals, depending on which way it's facing. This week, we need to begin by recognizing the extraordinary events that have echoed around the world after the death of Minneapolis citizen George Floyd, who was choked under the knee of Officer Derek Chauvin for 8 minutes and 45 seconds 2 weeks ago. Worldwide protests against intolerance and racism have spurned an unprecedented groundswell of activism, punctuated by further incidents of police brutality. This would appear to be a watershed moment in history. The Edge Media Network, as a news organization, whose very mission purports to bring the struggles of the LGBT community to light, supports the Black Lives Matter movement. In many ways, they are our brothers and sisters in the fight against inequality. As journalists, our job is to report and not create the news. Our Slightly Used News program, however, is a satirical take on each week's top stories. This movement is unequivocally our top story. But aside from the statement that you are hearing now, our editorial team has decided it should not be subject to this show's humorous approach because, frankly, there is absolutely nothing about it that should be considered funny. We hope our viewers will understand that this program's intent to make light of the rest of the world's news in no way is meant to distract from or minimize the Black Lives Matter movement. We believe tragedy and comedy can and must coexist in a sane world. With that in mind, let's turn to our first story, which will not come as a shock to our LGBT viewers, but may upset any straight allies who are watching, particularly those who are 15 years old, or the mental equivalent thereof, anytime between 2009 and 2015. Glee star Lea Michele was evidently a nasty diva behind the scenes. Co-star Samantha Marie Ware, who appeared on Glee with Michele, recently called her out on Twitter, saying Michele made her work on the comedy musical, quote, a living hell, and that she, quote, questioned a career in Hollywood due to her behavior. Ware went so far as to claim that Michele threatened to, quote, shit in her wig. Michele apologized, but the controversy has continued, ultimately degenerating into a combination of Queen snapping and saying, girl, of course she was the diva, look at those motherfucking cheekbones, and later a drawn-out altercation between two drag performers named Ivanka Rock My Man Off and Chloe Media. The combatants argued over who won what appeared to be a 3-year gang war in northern Vermont that occurred after Rock My Man Off did, in fact, shit in Media's wig backstage at a bar called Piglet Pussies during a benefit performance in 2017. That war resulted in 3 deaths, an amputation, and the consternation of the people for the ethical treatment of animals after the rescue of a Dalmatian covered entirely in scented personal lubricant. Oof. Meanwhile, Gallup's new poll results this week discovered that support for marriage equality today in the United States is just as high as it was when it hit a peak level 2 years ago. The poll also concluded that most people believe that Swiss cheese is made in Booger Hole, West Virginia, and not in fact in the area around Emmental, Switzerland, leading some to question Gallup's methods. Upon investigating, they learned that approximately 55% of respondents believed that marriage equality meant husbands should do their own fucking laundry once in a while. And 44% misheard the phrase as baggage equality and felt that the luggage of first-class airline passengers should not be afforded priority delivery to airport carousels. The remaining 1% were gay and emphatically said yes, but through a freak mathematical coincidence, happened to all be at the same orgy. So who really knows? And it's Pride Month, ladies and gentlemen. That means 30 days of celebrating the gay community's successes in our fight for dignity, visibility, and equality. The month is usually a season of citywide parades, festivals, and performances from the arts, followed by an incomprehensibly high consumption of Bud Light and the unmistakable glee of city sanitation workers as their road sweepers crush literally millions of rainbow beads into the pavement. During the pandemic, of course, most U.S. prides have opted to move their celebrations online, offering up the digital version of Pride Fest's entertainment, educational programs, music, and bad personal choices. Prides are coming to you, folks, so be sure to look into activities sponsored by your local Pride committees. This year's Pride also brings vendors from all over the world offering a seemingly endless array of LGBT products for purchase. However, 2020 brings a hot new addition to the market. This year, you can score your very own rainbow Make America Great Again t-shirt and baseball cap, courtesy of President Donald Trump. Oh, sorry. It's true, folks. The Trump campaign is selling this beauty online for $25. It's literally called the Make America Great Again Pride Tee. And you can head to donaldjtrump.com to score this gem. Manufactured with care by Susie Agnes Missionary in Chicken, Alaska, from quality cotton shirts sourced directly from Wuhan. Then emblazoned with transfer letters from Hobby Lobby by a really hot iron and a fifth of Beefeater. As a side note, if you're worried about availability, you can finish this video first. Suppliers report that the only significant order has come from an ex-gay ministry in Big Bottom, South Dakota called the Bottom Ministries, and that they have enough stock to hold out until the rapture. This week in our news segment, This Shit Should Have Died in 2003, Netflix renewed Queer Eye for a 5th season. The show was modeled after the earlier Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, but was renamed for Netflix after a YouTube documentary interviewed the subjects of the original Fab Five's ministrations and discovered that within 6 months, without exception, they returned to shaving their faces in the wrong direction. The filmmakers claimed this proved once and for all that you can't turn social pariahs into fully functional members of society with an injection of glitter and polyurethane. The current Fab Five, that one. Anthony Porowski, Tan France, Karamo Brown, Bobby Burke, and Jonathan Van Ness head to Philadelphia this season to work their unique brand of magic. Our editors got a sneak peek and reported that the season is a triumph, with the five feeling more comfortable than ever in their own skin, which is amazing, really. I mean, if these guys get any more comfortable in their own skin, they're going to overtake the Squatty Potty ads as the gayest thing in the history of the world. Whew, that's gay. Which brings us to this. Amidst COVID-19 fatalities rising to nearly 400,000, countless studies that prove the virus can be spread via touch and airborne particles, and a worldwide scientific exploration to understand and ultimately defeat the virus, researchers from Harvard University this week published this amazing logical leap. Having sex can spread coronavirus. Oh wow, we need a bigger budget. Thanks, Harvard. We can always count on the smartest people in the world to give us a good old no fucking shit moment. To help those who intend to defy that warning and, well, ride that midnight train to Pound Town, the world-class geniuses at Harvard have some advice. Wear a face mask. A survey of 250 right-wing, born-again, closeted Jesus freaks agreed that while abstinence is preferable, followed closely by only hooking up with those you're socially distancing with, such as your parents or siblings, covering up your mouth as well as your penis is the next best thing. After all, nothing says hot blowjob like an N95 respirator, and what better way to say I love you than through 3 layers of cotton and shavings from a HEPA filter. In political news this week, Joe Biden clinched the Democratic presidential nomination, leading most citizens to say, I thought that happened months ago. And over at the White House, reporters attending President Donald Trump's Rose Garden event Friday were forced to abandon social distancing because it, quote, looks better, according to the aide who ordered it. Journalists argued that the move endangers the lives of the press, implying that if the reporters caught 19 on the White House lawn, their potential deaths would be the fault of the administration. When asked to comment on the issue, one administration official said, not at all, we love the press, and we're adding mandatory temperature checks for each of them with state-of-the-art military sensor technology. Rectally. Speaking of rectums, here's a late-breaking story. Twitter blew up just before the weekend with allegations that a prominent GOP senator has been bolting the closet door shut by day with an anti-gay record, but hiring male sex workers during his off hours. Gay adult film star Sean Harding made the accusations, alleging that the senator has been hiring, quote, every sex worker I know. The tweet went on to post the question, wondering if enough of us spoke out if that could get him out of office. Harding then gave the senator's nickname among sex workers as LG, leading many to speculate that the individual in question is South Carolina's own Lindsey Graham. In another twist, a post on Medium by another sex worker corroborated Harding's account, adding that in one encounter he noticed a large cluster of moles on the senator's anus, which he claimed Graham called his, quote, little ladybugs. Ooh. This has led to trending hashtags such as Save the Ladybugs, a rush on bug sprays, and conversely, massive discounts for this product from Williams-Sonoma. And finally this morning, the train wreck continues in the further saga of Tiger King crazies making the absolute most of their undeserved fame. A judge awarded the zoo previously owned by Joe Exotic to his arch nemesis Carol Baskin. This prompted Exotic, who is currently serving a 22-year sentence for a murder-for-hire plot against Baskin, to say that Baskin's, quote, treachery must be, quote, addressed. The plot thickened when a Florida sheriff this week declared that the will of Baskin's missing husband, Don Lewis, was forged. Evidently, the notary who authenticated the will has no record of it, and handwriting experts have discovered inconsistencies with the document. But the most damning evidence came when the sheriff read the will, which states in its entirety, quote, "Give it all to Carol because she's awesome," and then, in smaller text underneath it says, "If you're reading this, please send help. She has a gun." Thanks for tuning in. If you like our show, please share it with your friends, and please feel free to leave us a comment below. You should maybe say things like, "Who is that sexy host? Edge is awesome," or "Can I get the name of the edibles your writers are using?" And remember, if you want to read these stories in advance every week, just head to edgemedianetwork.com. I'm Lance Collins, and have a great week.